Okay, my friends, another helpful tip is to open up a high yield savings account. Now, this one will be much shorter and much less painful than the last video. You have checking accounts, which pretty much all of us use. You have savings accounts, which pretty much all of us use. A high yield savings account is nothing more than what you currently have at your bank, but with a higher savings interest rate, meaning put your money in a high yield savings and you'll earn more than you otherwise would. So, where this is good is, let's say you're saving up to buy a laptop, let's say you're saving up to buy a guitar, let's say you're saving up to buy a mobile home or a cottage, where a Roth IRA is more of a permanent thing, meaning you don't want to start a Roth IRA with inactive index funds pointed towards the S&P 500 through Vanguard.com and change your mind after 5 years and pull that money out. You really don't want to do that. You're going to get hit with a huge penalty. And that's not the point of that anyways. It's not that the company's trying to be mean. That's not the point of it. It's like eating food to feel better and then, I don't know what, vomiting it up because you've changed your mind. It just doesn't, it's a weird thing to say, but that's just it. It doesn't make sense. Same thing with a Roth IRA and wanting to take your money out. That money is, you're playing the long-term game with that. That money is, I don't want to say gone, but think of it as good as gone. Just as you bought a car or bought a cup of coffee or bought a laptop that eventually gets outdated or a phone that eventually gets outdated, that money is gone. That's the long-term game. That's long-term wealth. End of story. With a high-interest savings account, this is short-term earning, meaning I put $3,000 into a high-interest savings account. A high-interest savings account, it just does. It gives you more money than a normal savings account, and it certainly gives you more than a checking account. I don't even think checking accounts, if I'm not mistaken, earn interest. So what I mean by, let me clarify all this. You're looking to buy a laptop, you're looking to buy Ableton, whatever it is, and you've got some money saved up for that. Let's say $300, but you need to get to $1,000. Instead of letting that $300 sit in your checking account and hoping that you don't spend it, or hoping that a time does not come where you're tempted to spend it, you put it in a savings account. But instead of putting it in a savings account where it's connected to your checking account and you're hoping you don't get tempted to spend it, and it just sits there anyways, really doesn't do anything other than stays out of your checking account so that you don't accidentally spend it, you take that $300 and you put it in a high interest or high yield savings account. A high yield savings account is the same as a regular savings account. However, for putting your money in a high yield savings account, you earn money on your money. I know it sounds weird, but literally banks have things called a high yield savings account, where if you take your money and you put it in that savings account, that high yield savings account, that money just for sitting there earns money. It's insane. It's free money. It's similar to your Roth IRA. It's just a short-term version of that. So let's break it down. Your Roth IRA is the long-term game, okay? For putting money in a Roth IRA, that money earns money. $1,000 put into a Roth IRA for 30 years, let's just say becomes $10,000, $7,000. Not a bad deal for just letting your money sit there. You don't have to work for it. You don't have to do anything with it. You just need to take money and put it in this magical folder. And when you open it in 30 years, that money has multiplied big time. Same thing with the high yield savings, but it's on a smaller level. and it's temporary, meaning it's intended to be pulled out and used. Whereas with a Roth IRA, you sure as heck better not open up a Roth IRA, put money in, and then decide in 5 years you're impatient and you want to pull that money out to buy a guitar or something. You better not do that. If you're going to do that, you want to open up a high yield savings and put money in that. You don't earn as much as a Roth IRA, but that's because this is short term and there's penalties. So people might say, well, why not just put it in the Roth IRA and pull it out? If you don't earn as much with a high yield savings, why not put it in a Roth IRA? You don't want to do that. There's rules, there's penalties, there's reasons why. I understand you're thinking that way, but you do not want to do that. So you're saving up for Ableton, you're saving up for a laptop, you have $300, you need to get that $300 to $1,000. You put it in a high yield savings because although that $300 will not turn into $1,000 overnight, you do earn free money on that $300 for just setting it in that folder known as a high yield savings, or that account known as a high yield savings. Okay? The main thing I'm trying to get across to you here is there's free money out there. Even if it's only pennies on the dollar, why would you not do that in multiple aspects of your life so that as time moves on, you're getting money for free. You're making money for free. Whether it's short term to buy Ableton or a laptop, or it's long term so that at the end of your life you can live comfortably, it's free money. And it pays more, way more, than a common checking account or a common savings account ever would. It's not even like I'm splitting hairs here. Like, yeah, you have checking account, which earns you nothing. You have your savings account, which earns you next to nothing. And you have your high yield savings, which really isn't that different from a savings. It earns you next to nothing as well. No. You have your checking, which earns you nothing. You have your savings, which earns you next to nothing. And then you have your high yield, which is a complete and utter step above your regular savings account and your checking account. It's free money, and it's a way to put money into something, that's something being a high yield savings account, and you have access to it. You can pull it in and out anytime you want. But for the money that's in there, it earns money on that money. So if you put that $300 in and you save that $300 for a year, but you also continue to work and put, say, $20 a week or $50 a week into that high yield savings, at the end of the year, you would have earned money on top of your money for free for doing nothing that now ease the blow of buying Ableton or headphones or a laptop or a car or whatever it is. So I'm showing you different ways to attack wealth through getting the highest paid job that you can with the lowest amount of debt that you can, living in the cheapest living situation that you can, maximizing your taxes, maximizing a long-term plan for retirement so that at the end of your life when you're old, maybe you don't feel good, God forbid, or even if you feel great, just to have money to go travel the Caribbean. You'll have that. And in the short term, you have a way of taking smaller amounts of money and having a financial institution, a bank, give you money for free just for keeping your money in their vault, their high yield savings. Go do that.